Picture this, the NFL's biggest stars playing a football game where defense is optional and quarterbacks throw touchdown passes to players they normally try to avoid. That's the Pro Bowl for you. From bone-crushing hits to flag football, this all-star showcase has transformed more times than a Marvel superhero. 1939, the birth of football's all-star game. Before the Pro Bowl was even called the Pro Bowl, we had the NFL All-Star Game. January 15th, 1939 marked the beginning of something special at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. The defending champion New York Giants faced off against a team of all-stars from the rest of the league. The Giants won 13-10, but more importantly, the concept of showcasing the league's best talent was born. Fun fact, this game drew 15,000 fans, which was massive for pro football in the 1930s. The players wore their own team helmets, creating a rainbow of colors on the field that looked like someone dumped out a bag of Skittles. 1940, Green Bay's championship squad takes center stage. The 1940 edition saw the NFL champion Green Bay Packers square off against the NFL All-Stars at Gilmore Stadium in Los Angeles. The All-Stars pulled off the upset, winning 16-7. This game featured future Hall of Famers like Don Hutson, who was basically the Jerry Rice of his era. The weather was so perfect that day, players complained they were getting sunburned through their leather helmets. Talk about problems we don't have anymore. 1942, 2 All-Star games in 1 year. The 1942 season actually featured 2 All-Star games. In January, the Chicago Bears faced the NFL All-Stars at the Polo Grounds in New York. The Bears dominated 35-24 in front of 17,725 fans on a cold, snowy day. The game was moved from Los Angeles due to World War II travel restrictions. Then, in December, the Washington Redskins lost to the All-Stars 17-14 at Shibe Park in Philadelphia. This would be the last All-Star game for nearly a decade, as World War II put everything on hold. Many of these players traded their cleats for combat boots, serving their country overseas. 1951, the first official Pro Bowl. Fast forward to January 14th, 1951, and we finally get the first official Pro Bowl at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. The American Conference defeated the National Conference 28-27, with Cleveland Browns quarterback Otto Graham taking home the first Pro Bowl MVP trophy. This game established the format we'd see for years, conference versus conference, best against best. The game drew 53,676 fans, proving that America was hungry for more football after the regular season ended. Before we dive into the next one, do me a solid. If you're enjoying the ride so far, hit that like button and subscribe. Come on, don't be part of the 98% silent squad. It literally costs you nada and helps us more than coffee. Massive thanks to everyone who already has. 1952, Rams running wild. The 1952 Pro Bowl saw the National Conference dominate 30-13, led by Los Angeles Rams quarterback Norm Van Brocklin. The Rams had 5 players on the National Conference roster, essentially making it a home game. This was the era when players wore those classic leather helmets without face masks. Imagine trying to tackle someone today without a face mask. Your dentist would love the business. 1953, Detroit's championship momentum. Fresh off their NFL championship, several Detroit Lions stars led the National Conference to a 27-7 victory. Bobby Lane, the Lions quarterback who was known for partying as hard as he played, threw 2 touchdown passes while probably nursing a hangover. The game was played in front of 34,208 fans, a disappointing crowd that led organizers to question the game's future in Los Angeles. 1954, Chuck Bednarik's showcase. The 1954 Pro Bowl belonged to Chuck Bednarik, the Philadelphia Eagles' two-way star who played both center and linebacker. The National Conference won 28-20, with Bednarik dominating on both sides of the ball. This was back when real men played 60 minutes, none of this specialized player nonsense. Bednarik would famously say he could play an entire game with a cigarette in his mouth. Different times, folks. 1955, Y.A. Tittle's aerial show. Tittle put on a passing clinic as the National Conference won 26-19. Tittle, whose bald head would later become one of football's most iconic images, threw for 2 touchdowns. The game featured an innovation that seems quaint now. They actually measured the field before the game to make sure it was regulation size. Apparently, trust was in short supply in 1955. 1956, the Colts' preview of greatness. Before Johnny Unitas became a household name, the American Conference featured several Baltimore Colts who would soon dominate the NFL. The American Conference won 26-7, with the Colts' defense showing glimpses of what would become a championship unit. This game also marked one of the first times players wore their names on their jerseys for the Pro Bowl, helping fans identify stars from different teams. 1957, the kicking clinic in Coliseum glory. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum hosted the 7th annual Pro Bowl, where the Western Conference outlasted the East 1910 in front of a crowd of 44,177. This game wasn't a downfield duel. It was a special team showcase. Baltimore Colts place kicker Burt Rechichar nailed 4 field goals, earning him co-MVP honors alongside Pittsburgh lineman Ernie Stautner for his defensive performance. Coached by Patty Driscoll for the West and Jim Lee Howell for the East, the game played out as a methodical affair rather than an offensive explosion. Despite featuring stars of the era, the spotlight remained firmly on Recichar's leg and Stautner's grit, demonstrating that special teams could dominate the highlight reel even in football's early all-star contest. 1958, Johnny Unitas takes over. Fresh off the greatest game ever played. The 1958 NFL Championship, Johnny Unitas led the American Conference to a 28-21 victory. Unitas, with his signature high-top cleats and crew cut, was football's first true TV star. The game drew over 66,000 fans, the largest Pro Bowl crowd to date, proving that Unitas could sell tickets even in an exhibition. 1959, the last game in Los Angeles, for now. The American Conference won 28-21 in what would be the last Pro Bowl in Los Angeles for over 2 decades. The game featured 11 future Hall of Famers, though nobody knew it at the time. The NFL was still competing with the upstart AFL, and many of these players would soon be offered big money to jump leagues. Professional football was about to change forever. 1960-1970, the AFL-NFL rivalry years. During the 1960s, the Pro Bowl competed with the AFL All-Star Game for attention. The NFL's game bounced around from Los Angeles to other cities, trying to find its identity. These games featured legends like Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Dick Butkus, and Gale Sayers. The 1965 game saw Jim Brown score 3 touchdowns in a 34-14 National Conference victory. It was like watching a man among boys, even though those boys were all pros. The merger announcement in 1966 changed everything. Players who had been enemies suddenly knew they'd be teammates. The 1970 game was the last before the official merger, ending an era with the American Conference winning 27-6. 1971, the first AFC-NFC Pro Bowl. The merger was complete, and now we had AFC versus NFC. The NFC won the inaugural conference showdown 27-6 at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. This game established rivalries that would last for decades: Cowboys versus Steelers, Vikings versus Dolphins. The best of the best, sorted by conference, ready to prove supremacy. 1972-1979, the decade of dynasties. The 1970s Pro Bowls reflected the decade's dominant teams. The 1973 game featured players from the undefeated Miami Dolphins, with the AFC winning 33-28. The Steelers dynasty contributed 9 players to the 1976 game, essentially turning it into Pittsburgh versus everybody else. The 1977 Pro Bowl saw something special. O.J. Simpson rushed for 112 yards, reminding everyone that before the Bronco chase, he was one of football's most electrifying players. The game ended 24-14 NFC, but everyone remembered the Juice's performance. 1980, Aloha, Hawaii. Everything changed when the Pro Bowl moved to Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. The NFC won 37-27, but the real winner was the location. Hawaii provided the perfect backdrop for football's all-star game. Players actually wanted to attend, bringing their families for a paid vacation. The relaxed atmosphere led to more creative play calling and trick plays. Chuck Muncie was named MVP, but everyone was already planning their next trip to paradise. 1981, the San Diego Show. The AFC won 16-13 in a defensive struggle that proved even Pro Bowlers could play defense when they wanted. San Diego Chargers quarterback Dan Fouts was named MVP on his home field, throwing for 182 yards. The game featured Air Coryell at its finest, with Fouts connecting with fellow Chargers Kellen Winslow and John Jefferson. 1982, Lawrence Taylor's Rookie Showcase. LT made his Pro Bowl debut and showed why he'd revolutionized the linebacker position. The AFC won 16-13, but Taylor's presence was felt on every play. Offensive coordinators actually game planned for an exhibition game because of him. That's respect. 1983, Dan Marino's first of many. Before he became Dan Marino, he was just a rookie making his first Pro Bowl. The NFC won 2019, but Marino's quick release and arm strength had everyone talking. John Jefferson won MVP honors, but scouts were already drooling over Miami's young quarterback. 1984, the NFC's record rout. Remember when Pro Bowls could be blowouts? The NFC destroyed the AFC 45-3, the most lopsided Pro Bowl ever. Joe Theismann was named MVP before his career-ending injury the following season. The game was so one-sided that ABC actually cut away to show highlights from other sports. Ouch. 1985, Mark Gastineau's defensive showcase. The AFC won 22-14 behind Mark Gastineau's dominant performance. The Jets' defensive end was named MVP after recording multiple sacks and a safety. This was the era when Pro Bowl defenders occasionally tried, and Gastineau treated it like a real game. The game was scoreless for 26 minutes before the AFC scored on a safety, making this one of the more defensive Pro Bowls in history. 1986, the last competitive Pro Bowl. The NFC won 28-24 in what old-timers call the last real Pro Bowl. Players actually hit each other, though not at full speed. Phil Simms played for the losing side this time, but the game's intensity made it memorable. This was before lawyers and insurance companies ruined everything. 1987, strike year weirdness. The AFC won 10-6 in the lowest scoring Pro Bowl ever. The strike-shortened season meant some regular Pro Bowlers were replaced by guys who normally sold insurance in the offseason. The game was so boring that Hawaii considered asking for their stadium back. 1988, Bruce Smith's defensive dominance. The AFC won 15-6 behind Bruce Smith's 3 sacks. Yes, 3 sacks in a Pro Bowl. Smith treated it like a playoff game, which either made him incredibly competitive or a jerk, depending on your perspective. The offensive linemen definitely voted for the latter. 1989, the Icky Shuffle in Paradise. The NFC won 34-3 as Cincinnati's Icky Woods performed his famous shuffle after scoring. The Pro Bowl became a showcase for celebrations, with players doing choreographed dances that would make TikTok jealous. This was peak 1980 success, and we loved every minute of it. 1990-1999, the Cowboys and 49ers show. The 1990s Pro Bowls were dominated by players from the Cowboys and 49ers dynasties. The 1994 game featured 17 players from these two teams alone. The NFC won most of these games, usually behind Steve Young or Troy Aikman's arm. The 1995 Pro Bowl saw something special. Marshall Faulk rushed for a record 180 yards. In a Pro Bowl where nobody plays defense. That's like scoring 50 points at a celebrity basketball game. Technically impressive, but somehow hollow. 2000, Randy Moss goes off. Welcome to the new millennium. Randy Moss caught 9 passes for 212 yards and a touchdown, earning MVP honors in the NFC's 51-31 victory. Moss made Pro Bowl defenders look like high schoolers, which, to be fair, they were playing like high schoolers. The game featured so little defense that coaches started calling plays from their beach chairs. 2001, Rich Gannon's aerial assault. The AFC won 38-17 as Rich Gannon threw for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was peak nobody plays defense in the Pro Bowl era. Gannon could have thrown left-handed and still completed 60% of his passes. The total yardage in this game exceeded most regular season games, proving that defense had officially become optional. 2002, the Manning Bowl preview. Peyton Manning's AFC defeated Donovan McNabb's NFC 38-30. This game gave us our first glimpse of Manning's Pro Bowl dominance. He treated the exhibition like a real game, audibling at the line and yelling Omaha with the intensity of a playoff game. His teammates just wanted to hit the beach, but Peyton wanted to win. Classic Peyton. 2003, the shootout in Paradise. In one of the highest scoring Pro Bowls ever, the AFC won 45-42. The game featured 87 total points and approximately 0 defensive efforts. Ricky Williams was named MVP after rushing for 70 yards, which in Pro Bowl defense terms meant he basically walked through untouched. 2004, Mark Bulger's record day. Mark Bulger threw for 282 yards and 4 touchdown passes as the NFC won 55-52 in the first Pro Bowl to exceed 100 total points. The score looked more like a basketball game, which was fitting since the players defended like they were playing basketball. The over-under for this game was 61 points. Vegas lost big that day. This record stood until 2024 when even more defensive apathy pushed the total higher. 2005, Peyton Manning's Paradise. Manning won his first of many Pro Bowl MVPs as the AFC won 38-27. By this point, Peyton had figured out the Pro Bowl formula. Throw to whoever Randy Moss was supposed to be covering. It worked every time. The game also featured the first successful onside kick in Pro Bowl history, because why not? 2006, the Sean Taylor game. The NFC won 23-17, but everyone remembers this game for one play. Sean Taylor absolutely destroying punter Brian Moorman on a fake punt in a Pro Bowl where you're not supposed to hit anyone. Taylor treated the exhibition like Moorman had insulted his family. It remains the most replayed Pro Bowl highlight ever, partly because it's one of the few actual highlights from a Pro Bowl. 2007, the redemption game. After getting destroyed by Taylor, the AFC bounced back with a 31-28 victory. Carson Palmer threw 3 touchdown passes and looked like the franchise quarterback everyone thought he'd be before injuries derailed his career. The game featured actual defense in the fourth quarter, shocking everyone, including the defenders themselves. 2008, Adrian Peterson's Pro Bowl debut. The NFC won 42-30 as Adrian Peterson announced his arrival on the All-Star stage. all-day rush for 2 touchdowns and made Pro Bowl defenders look silly, which granted wasn't that hard. The game also featured players wearing number 21 in honor of murdered teammate Sean Taylor, one of the few truly touching Pro Bowl moments. 2009, Larry Fitzgerald's home game. Playing in front of Arizona fans before Super Bowl 43, Larry Fitzgerald caught 2 touchdown passes as the NFC won 30-21. The game was actually played the week before the Super Bowl for the first time, meaning Cardinals and Steelers players couldn't participate. This began the tradition of the game's best players skipping the Pro Bowl for actual important reasons. 2010, the Matt Schaub game. The AFC won 41-34 as Houston's Matt Schaub was named MVP. Yes, Matt Schaub has a Pro Bowl MVP trophy. Let that sink in. The game featured so many replacement players due to Super Bowl participation and injuries that it looked like a preseason game with better uniforms. 2011, the Lockout Year Special. The NFC won 55-41 in a game that featured even less defense than usual, which is saying something. D'Angelo Hall returned an interception for a touchdown and did a celebration dance that lasted longer than most defensive series. The game was played during the lockout year, giving players a chance to show they were in Pro Bowl shape, meaning they could jog for 3 hours. 2012, the All-Star Finale in Hawaii. The AFC won 59-41 in what would be the last traditional Pro Bowl in Hawaii for several years. The game featured 100 total points and Brandon Marshall's record 4 receiving touchdowns. Marshall caught passes from 3 different quarterbacks, all of whom could have been blindfolded and still completed 70% of their throws. 2013, J.J. Watt actually tries. The NFC won 62-35 as J.J. Watt did something unprecedented. He played hard in a Pro Bowl. Watt had 3 sacks and looked like he was auditioning for a contract extension. Other players looked at him like he was crazy. Dude, we're in Hawaii. Chill. But Watt don't chill. 2014, Team Rice versus Team Sanders. The NFL changed the format, letting Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders draft teams. Team Rice won 22-21 in what was actually a competitive game. The schoolyard pick format was fun, with Sanders selecting defensive players with his first 5 picks, because of course he did. The game featured actual tackling, though players still helped each other up and exchanged jerseys mid-game. 2015, Team Irvin's victory. Team Irvin defeated Team Carter 32-28 as the NFL continued the draft format. The game was slightly more competitive than previous years, with players giving maybe 40% effort instead of the usual 25%. John Madden called it the best Pro Bowl in years, which was like saying it was the best episode of a terrible TV show. 2016, Russell Wilson's precision. Team Irvin won again, 49-27, with Russell Wilson earning MVP honors. Wilson completed 15 of 17 passes, though, to be fair, Pro Bowl defenders cover receivers like they're social distancing. The game returned to Hawaii, making players happy and defensive coordinators irrelevant. 2017, back to AFC versus NFC. The AFC won 2013 as the NFL returned to the conference format. The game featured actual defense, shocking everyone. Players celebrated third down stops like they'd won the Super Bowl, mainly because they were surprised they actually tried on third down. 2018, the Delaney Walker Show. The AFC won 24-23 with Titans tight end Delaney Walker catching the game-winning touchdown. The game was close enough to be interesting, but still featured the defensive intensity of a touch football game at a family reunion. Players wore special uniforms that looked like they were designed by someone who'd never seen football before. 2019, Patrick Mahomes preview. The AFC won 26-7 as Patrick Mahomes showed why he'd soon dominate the league. Mahomes threw for 156 yards and a touchdown, making no-look passes in a game where defenders weren't looking anyway. The game was in Orlando because apparently Hawaii wasn't exotic enough anymore. 2020, Lamar Jackson speed. The AFC won 38-33 with Lamar Jackson putting on a show. Jackson ran like defenders were traffic cones, which honestly wasn't far from the truth. The game featured a new format with skills competitions because the NFL finally admitted nobody wanted to watch Pro Bowl football. 2021, the virtual Pro Bowl. Due to COVID-19, the NFL held a virtual Pro Bowl week with players competing in Madden. Yes, really, the AFC won the virtual game, though nobody really cared. Players competed from their homes, making it the safest Pro Bowl ever, 0 injuries, unless you count carpal tunnel. 2022, Mac Jones in Vegas. The AFC won 41-35 in Las Vegas as Mac Jones threw 2 touchdown passes. The game featured the typical Pro Bowl defense, meaning receivers ran routes unopposed like it was a walkthrough. The skills competitions were more competitive than the actual game, with players trying harder in dodgeball than football. 2023-2025, the Pro Bowl Games era. The NFL finally gave up and turned the Pro Bowl into the Pro Bowl Games. Flag football replaced tackle football, making the lack of hitting official. The 2023 games saw the NFC win various skills competitions before taking the flag football game 35-33. Players competed in everything from dodgeball to catching competitions, basically adult field day with millionaire athletes. The 2024 Pro Bowl games continued the flag football format. The NFC won 64-59 in the highest scoring game ever, though calling it football was generous. Players wore flags instead of getting tackled, making it safer than most people's commute to work. 2025, the new record. The 2025 Pro Bowl games just happened, and boy did it deliver records. The NFC destroyed the AFC 76-63 in the flag football finale, combining for 139 total points. That's not a football score, that's a basketball score after someone forgot to play defense. The game featured more points than some teams score in entire months during the regular season. Players competed in various skills challenges throughout the week, with dodgeball being more competitive than the actual football. The flag football game saw quarterbacks completing passes at a higher rate than most people complete routine daily tasks. Defense was so optional that defenders were basically glorified traffic cones with Nike contracts. From leather helmets to flag football, the Pro Bowl has transformed from a hard-hitting showcase to a tropical vacation with some light jogging. Whether it's Sean Taylor's legendary hit or the recent 139-point flag football fiesta, each Pro Bowl tells the story of where football's been and where it's going. Love it or hate it, it's still the only place where rivals become teammates and defense becomes optional. Want more NFL deep dives breaking down the game's greatest moments? Hit that subscribe button faster than a Pro Bowl defender giving up on a tackle. Ring that notification bell and join the most passionate football community on YouTube. Until next time, keep those flags tucked in.